When I reviewed Sunless Sea back in early 2015, I wanted very much to like it. I deemed it a unique steampunk Lovecraftian adventure that was as mysterious and vague in its storytelling as it was flawed in its mechanics. While it had excellent writing and boatloads of atmosphere, the underground cavern Z of Sunless was filled to the brim with incredibly manipulatable AI, lackluster, overly simple combat mechanics, and very slow pacing. Slow almost to the point of intentionally grinding the player down. Moreover, despite the individually well-written encounters, overall the plot of the game was virtually non-existent, and it was structured like a roguelike. This wouldn't normally be a negative feature, but Failbetter likely implemented it without realizing that permadeath would force players to replay entire sections of the game countless times, thanks to the punishing difficulty. The repetition spoiled the mostly static narratives and led to a fatigue which wouldn't have been present otherwise, particularly in the first 2 to 3 hours of the game. Sunless was a game which spoiled fabulous writing with lackluster mechanics, and wasted what I thought had great potential. Cometh 2017, and I was contacted by lead developer Harry Tufts, who was working solo on his first game, House of Many Doors. He made a bold pitch to me. He was making a game inspired by Sunless Sea, but with mechanics inspired by FTL, and a setting inspired by Planescape Torment. On top of that, the game was being made with help by Failbetter Studios themselves. I was thoroughly intrigued by this pitch, and now we come to the present day. House of Many Doors has released, and after a few weeks of playing the game in late beta and a few days of playing it after release, I can report to you my findings. Is House of Many Doors a worthy successor to Sunless Sea? Does it provide what Sunless lacked? And most importantly, is it worth $12.99? To be fair, I'll have to admit that I'm a sucker for premise, and House of Many Doors has a doozy of a premise. You and everyone else in the game world are stuck in a pocket dimension, a parasite plane, which steals things and people from other, more upstanding dimensions. Like in Fallen London, this world exists underground, but unlike the Untersee, the titular house is a series of cavernous rooms, which you navigate not on a ship, but with a multi-legged kinetipede, a steam-powered centipede tank train. That's goddamned cool. In how many games can you say that? Oh hey everybody, check out my ride. Oh, it's only a giant brass centipede as big as a warehouse with a set of cannons mounted up on the sides there. Sound system's kicking too. Oh, and those high beams? That's a living human heart, baby. If I really wanted to pimp it out, I could strap one of my prisoners to the front end of it, but I don't want to ruin the finish, you know? And of course, this cherry, steam-driven whip needs fuel, one of the 3 provisions you'll want to keep in surplus or risk death. The other 2 are sanity and hull strength. Hull strength is basically health, no big surprise there. Sanity, like in Sunless Sea or Arkham Horror, is traded for both fortune and failure. While you will lose sanity for failing certain skill checks, you will often be required to lose sanity in order to gain something valuable. As a tactic, you can also turn off your heart light, which greatly reduces your fuel consumption and makes you far less visible to hostile ships, but as would be expected, makes your sanity drop like a rock while it's off. Regaining sanity can be either time-consuming or expensive, so just like in real life, make sure you only trade your peace of mind to those people or endeavors worth pursuing. Traveling around in the kinetipede, you explore the many rooms in the house and the cities and denizens within. The house is a dangerous enough place that travel between locales is typically left for the bold, the foolhardy, or the criminally insane, so there are plenty of opportunities to make money for an enterprising explorer. There are newspapers who will pay dearly for news from other cities, traders who will pay dearly for items scavenged out of newly arrived architecture, and pirates who have already made others pay dearly for what they now have in their possession. You can be a poet, be a journalist, collect tales from other worlds and sell them to interested parties, collect secrets and undermine governments, become a curator of your own museum of oddities, become rich, become a pariah, a savior, a rogue, a fiend, and all paths lead to the vast interior world of the house, and conflict with other travelers. Not all of the other primarily insect-themed ships scuttling around in the dark interiors of the house want you dead. Some are soldiers, bored out of their minds, who would prefer a good story to a good fight. Some are fellow travelers who would rather be left alone, but then there are the desperate ones. They've run out of fuel and they need just a little bit more, and you have some fuel, don't you? Remaining are your classic assortment of pirates, brigands, and thieves. Run into any of the above, and you'll probably have a fight on your hands, which is where House shows its main diversion from Sunless Sea in the combat system. Inspiration from FTL is clear. When you and your enemy lock into mortal combat, you take turns maneuvering your ship towards or away from each other, moving your crew, and aiming your cannons, each of which costs 1 action out of the 4 you have for the turn. You can target different sections of the ship, and the equipment and crew in the blast radius take damage, and can eventually die. You can also board their ship if you get close enough, and put the enemy crew to the sword. In the early stages of play, when you have the bare minimum of cannonry and crew, your path in combat is very single-minded. Because you want to stop them from doing damage, you target their cannon rooms and their gunners. If you can minimize the damage they do, you can get into a position of dominance, turn by turn. Moreover, the less damage they do in this fight means you'll leave it better equipped to handle the next one, and fewer repair costs down the road. Once you start upgrading your ship, your options start getting more numerous. You can get cannons with special ammo that causes insanity amongst the enemy crew, making them attack each other. Boarding becomes more of a viable option as you gain more crew and a faster ship. Your confidence will lead you further and further out of the familiar neighborhoods, and later combatants will require different tactics. Pit 2 heavily armored kinetipedes against each other, and sheer damage won't be enough to take them out. Targeting their crew or individual ship parts will become more and more of a solid plan as you progress through the game, and there is no single meta strategy effective in every situation. This decidedly strategic combat system is married with ample portions of story. Your character's main concern is that as a free-spirited adventure person, you've grown tired of your stay in the house, which is, as far as you've heard, apparently impossible to escape. Regardless, escape seems to be your initial motive behind your character's dogged exploratory expedition, and seems to have already taken a few twists and turns in my current playtime of 20 hours or so. Escape is not your only concern, however. There are a multitude of side missions, plots, divine scrutiny, and the internal lives of your crew. Your surgeon, your navigator, your captain of the guard, they all have stories to tell, lives, backstories, and in some cases, problems that need resolution. They each have been given meticulous care, and their quests don't simply result in trivial outcomes. At least one of the ones I completed led to that crew member to leave my ship entirely, but I could visit him every so often in port, and he would regain my sanity. You can also romance your crew, although to mixed results. Romance and sex in gaming is, well, gamified. Usually your in-game crush can be won over with the right kind of gift or the completion of some personal task you accomplished for them. Rather shallow accomplishment-based human interaction. In House of Many Doors, there are some crew who will totally reject your advances. Some who, given how you romance them, you are clearly taking advantage of. Some who want to take advantage of you, and some, I assume, who are genuinely looking for love in the deep. I haven't found the right mate yet, but there are plenty of silverfish in the cavern, given that there's something like 40-some-odd crew members, and more to come, I assume. One thing developer Harry said about post-release House development is that he definitely wants to introduce story modules as free updates to the game, at least for the first 6 months, and that will, I assume, include some extra crew into the game. House of Many Doors is an RPG with very hefty inspirations and bold aspirations. If you wanted a game like Sunless Sea, but with more complete gameplay mechanics, House is your game. If you want an RPG where you can be who you'd like, peaceful or violent, stately or insane, and reap the rewards or consequences of those actions, House is your game. If you want a narrative without clear good or evil morality boundaries, where upon completion of a task you might not know whether you did the right thing or not, House is your game. As the first game from a single guy with a limited budget, it's an impressive accomplishment, and it's reasonably priced too. For all the above reasons, House of Many Doors is worth the asking price. I certainly enjoyed my time with it, and even 20 plus hours in, I'm curious to see what else the house has in store. The characters are myopic.
Oh yeah, that's not true.
They don't know everything.
Yeah.
And you don't learn everything about the world through them.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it would or wouldn't destroy the character of the world to have them more explained.
I'm not sure. I think you certainly could have probably pushed it further towards explaining things than Lovecraft did, like where it was literally like, this is indescribable, and then this is indescribable.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was going to say.
At the end.
It felt like
it
was almost lazy. Like it's so it's crazy, it's so crazy that you go crazy. I can't even think of something to describe this. Just it's undescribable.
Yeah, and I think that is true. That is a flaw in the writing, along with there's a lot of flaws in Love. writing, even though I think he was a great writer and came up with amazing concepts. But yeah, like purple prose can get insane. Just,
Purple prose.
Yeah, it's like
At best,
But
at best, it functions like a dream you can't remember.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he could have pushed towards explaining things. I think once you get to the point of trying to meticulously lay things out and explain everything, then I think you've gone too far in the opposite direction. I think there's a happy balance, basically. But no, I can see your point there about Lovecraft. It's kind of like, really? I just want to see one thing described. I don't want to know more about this other than the fact that it's hideous.
What does her face look like, though? Like, it's crazy, but what does it look like?